يعطيكم العافية وأهلا وسهلا.
Good morning.
نشكر أول شيء اللي قدروا يوصلوا على الوقت.
We would like to thank, first of all, those who were able to arrive on time. Because as you know, today the roads are closed and we are reading news that certain internal roads are closed. This is maybe as an expression to some of the decisions that were taken by the Prime Minister yesterday. It looks as if this is similar, a little bit like the reform in the city. Let's wait and see, because some people are waiting for the headsets. Closure of roads could be occasions for people maybe to bring opinions together. And maybe today, one of the main objectives of our meeting today, while I was preparing a little bit for this meeting today, we will be discussing these issues. I remembered a quote, and I would like to greet you. If you are not on the table, are you on the menu? This is a very famous quotation. إذا منك أنت قاعد على الطاولة، هل يمكن أن تكون على لائحة الطعام على المنيو؟ I believe that one of the objectives of this gathering today and all the activities of non-governmental organization and even the official ones to have a seat on the table, not to be on the menu, and to convey its voice and its claims and requests and how to impact one way or the other the policies and politics of all any establishment, regardless of which sector they are active in. There is something that brings us together, that most of us, we all work in a certain field to have an impact, not today, tomorrow maybe, in the drafting of certain policies that are being discussed today in the country, whether at the level of the strategies or the government or the decrees, or at the level of the laws or the Parliament. This is why I don't know if I'm entitled to welcome. I don't know if I'm entitled. Thank you, Mrs. Hinnett. Today we are hosted by the Ministry of State Affairs for Administrative Affairs, represented by the advisor of His Excellency the Minister, Mrs. Hind al-Khatib, of which we thank you for receiving us and hosting us today. I am Julien Courson from the Establishment of Transparency International with Karim Badr and Adonis. Stufis. It's easier now. From the OECD. As you all know, I do not want to say, of course, today this is not our first gathering, specifically for the size and the role of the organizations that are with us around the table. We've been working together for years, each in his field, but today we have an additional opportunity. And of course, they're not coming only to hear me talk. I'm going to start and give the welcoming speech to Ms. Hind, who will brief us in general on the role of this ministry in terms of the open government partnership. Sorry, I apologize. The initiative or the partnership of the government, the open government, as depending on which country is working on this topic. Here you go. The floor is yours. Good morning to you all and welcome to you all. Julien, the place is yours. This is your home, your house. Karine as well. We are all partners, whether with Transparency International or with the OECD. And the partnership goes back to an old time, it's not new. But I would like to highlight the importance of the work towards having an open government, which through your work, and I know clearly and well what is the work that Transparency International has conducted with the NGOs, with everybody, and how much they worked on integrity and participation, whether on the local level or the central level. And these are the essence of the open governance. Our work with UMSAR is on these matters that we are introducing in the program that we are working on, and that on which we have started since September 2025. We started from the President of the Republic, and the program is reinventing the government, reinventing and reforming all the governmental institutions 2030 vision. This work that we have started maybe it's the first time that it happens. We started with major and big consultations with stakeholders, and such consultations, Transparency International was one of the partners that helped us. And I believe you were one of these sessions. We consulted your opinion. What do you expect from administrative reform? What is the concept of administrative reform? What does it mean to succeed? What's its importance for the civil society, for the associations? What are the services that for you feel are a priority that we should be tackling and working on? All these, we did not issue a citizen charter before taking into consideration a whole society with all its categories and the experts, the civil society, the public administration, the civil servants, the employees in the public institutions, first, second, and third category, the spiritual bodies and entities, the disabilities, young women, youth, all of them. We had organized sessions with them, about 70 consultation sessions, more than 1,500 participants. We even went to the rural areas, to the remote areas, with municipalities, with provinces. We tried the guiding principles, not to have them as a result of research, to have them stemming from inside, from the ground. The rights, we reflected them in rights and obligations of the citizen, rights and obligations of the state, the commitment, the engagement of the states. All of these are principles and rights that we worked on and are working on in the second phase of reconstitutions of the state institutions, in which we aim at reaching by the end of April to work on having an orientation plan to restructure the whole public sector. You are all working in this. We took by your directives, recommendations, consultations as a result of your expectations, with the challenges that you saw. And we saw it with each category, which is a group of people to take into consideration to try to avoid and remove and face together the challenges. I would like you to highlight what is the participation that we did, in which your role is very important, of utmost importance. The participation on several levels. And here I want to come back to the work that was conducted with the OECD in previous years, through which it was determined the level of participation, which is the first one, information. And I believe you all had a major role in this, for the access of information role to be ratified. The advocacy you did, the lobbying, we reached a level or a category where we opened and filed or advanced towards the open government partnership, which is information and access for information. The second level of the participation was the consultation. And this is what we are trying to strive to work on and introduce in all the orientations that we are conducting under the sponsorship of His Excellency, the Minister Fadi Makki. But it requires and needs work from your part and assistance from your part to be able to step forward, to move forward, to meet the eligibility criteria of the open government in terms of the circulation or publication of the audit report, which should be one of the eligibility criteria, and as well the asset declaration input, which are two very important points that we should work on and that we need a partnership with the civil society and the NGOs to advance more, to move forward, and to be in the open government partnership. The importance of the open government partnership is not only that we advanced and we became members with them. It's important that there will be an international acknowledgement and confession of the serious efforts of Lebanon towards reform and governance, towards having better policies and better services for the citizen. So we are really counting on working all together. Welcome to you all. The ministry is open to working together for this workshop that we are doing, that has started and since more than a year with you and our partnership. Thank you for Transparency International, for Mr. Julien Courson. Thank you for Karine, for the OECD. Thank you for your support and cooperation and help all through the way. Thank you. Many thanks to you, Mrs. Hinnett. Of course, I cannot summarize what you have said, but of course, I believe there is a very important principle that you are working on seriously. Of course, there's always attempts, but maybe circumstances do not always help. But I don't know if everyone agrees with me. We are really seeing and witnessing the seriousness of the people and consulting the society and all relevant stakeholders, let me say, regardless of what will the result be tomorrow. But this is very clear, and we congratulate you and shake your hand on this and tell you good work, especially in amidst these circumstances. You mentioned the term Open Government March, OGP, the partnership we will have later on. Our colleague طارق Nashnash online, he is from Morocco. He will be with us from his place of work, and he is the coordinator of the Middle East and North Africa in the initiative of OGP, and he will tell us more about this. I believe most of you already have an idea, but it's not wrong to remember all together this. But before that, I will leave the floor to the associations and partnerships of the OECD, Karim, to talk about the OECD and OGP and the situation of Lebanon towards this initiative. Karim maybe will be speaking in English, yes? So we will be going now into the Arabic language. There are headsets on the table for those. Karim, the floor is yours.
شكرا للجميع. دونك اسمي كريم بدر، أنا محللة سياسات بمنظمة التنمية والتعاون الاقتصادية، وزميلي أدونيس حيكون
And Adonis, my friend, will be giving a clear point of view about the work we do in this field. I will switch to English now, but first of all, شكرا جزيلا لأمصار ولTransparency International.
Participation. It had been a few years where we weren't engaging with Lebanon, so we're really happy to re-engage now as part of the project that maybe some of you have seen yesterday with funding from the Italian cooperation, and really hoping to work all of us together and help you as much as possible on this openness agenda specifically. I'll give the floor to my colleague just to briefly present the OECD, because I know we don't have offices in Beirut and Lebanon. We're based in Paris, so for some stakeholders, it's not a very well-known organization. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the specific aspects for today.
Great. Thank you, Karin, for the floor. Thank you so much.
Put up the power.
Yes, we have a couple of slides, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe I start with the thank yous while the slides come up. So big thank you to you, Julian, for organizing and bringing us all together today. It's really a huge pleasure. Thank you so much, Hind, for welcoming us again at OMSAR. I'm sure you're tired of seeing us now so often. Perfect, thank you. And a big thank you to all of you for being here. It's really a huge pleasure to meet all of you and to talk with all of you. I think really whenever we engage with a country through a new project, talking with the civil society organizations in that country is really some of the most rewarding part of the job that we do. So huge thanks to all of you for being here. Let's see up. Oh, no. No.
You can start already.
Yeah, perfect. So a couple of maybe introductory notes on what the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is, just in case some of you don't know it that well. So it's an international organization in which governments work together to find solutions to common challenges, develop global standards, share experiences, and identify best practices to promote better policies for better lives. So that is the slogan of the organization, better policies for better lives. We have 38 member countries. The OECD was created more than 60 years ago, and outside of our member countries, of course, we don't only work with those 38 member countries. We've worked with more than 100 countries around the world to support and create better policies. Some of the key roles of the OECD are to inform and advise. I mean, I think this is what the OECD is probably most known for. So collecting comparative data, socioeconomic data, and providing knowledge and advice based on the data that we collect. But we also try to go beyond this and not just write very, very long reports based on data collection efforts. And we try, of course, to engage and influence through many different networks that we have that I will briefly talk about as well. And of course, to set standards and provide policy advice. So we encourage countries to do better by developing internationally agreed standards so that everyone plays by the same rules and cooperates to reach shared objectives. Then maybe a little bit more on the work that my colleague Karine and I are engaged in. So we work in what is called the Open Government Unit of the Public Governance Directorate of the OECD. And really the basis of our work is a recommendation of the OECD Council on open government, which defines open government as a culture of governance that promotes the principles of transparency, integrity, accountability, and stakeholder participation in support of democracy and inclusive growth. So that is really what we base most of our work in. And the work on open government has also been informed, especially in recent years, by the findings of what we call the OECD Trust Survey in Public Institutions, where it was clearly seen that the biggest predictor of trust in public institutions, in national governments, is the extent to which people feel that they have a say in political decision making. So even more than socioeconomic background, even more than professional affiliation, even more than educational background, what truly matters to build trust in public institutions is for people to feel that they have a say. So this is really also what our work is based on. Very briefly, I will not bore you too much with the organizational details of our team. But we have a couple of teams working on different elements of open government. So we have a team working on access to information and public communications. We have a team that's working on citizen and stakeholder participation. So looking at how citizens and CSOs and beyond can play an active role in public life. And then the team from which Karine and I mostly come from is the civic space team, where we look into many things, but we look into protection of civic freedoms like freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association. And very importantly, we look at the creation of an enabling environment for civil society organizations. So under that, we look into funding for civil society organizations, we look into registration processes, and many more. So just a couple of examples of our work. So in terms of publications, we've done a number of global reports. So we take comparative data from across the OECD membership and beyond, and we compile, let's say, more analytical reports, such as the Open Government for Stronger Democracies report, and a report that we published in 2022 called the Protection and Promotion of Civic Space, where we collected data from 52 countries and produced this global report, which identified 10 high-level recommendations to protect and promote civic space in the OECD membership and beyond. And then based on these large data collection efforts, we try to develop very concrete, very practical guidance. So that, for example, we try to do through our practical guide for policymakers on protecting and promoting civic space, which you will remember I just mentioned the 10 recommendations that the global report kind of highlighted. This was really an effort to go into each one of these recommendations and provide actionable advice. So we gave, I think, more than 65 best practices from more than 26, 27 countries. So really we try to look at what is out there. We try to do desk research. We conduct a number of interviews. We have a number of people that we work in multiple countries that can feed us with best practices so that we can really inform the reports that we draft. We, of course, engage in country reviews. So this is kind of our bread and butter. Open government reviews, civic space reviews. And then we have also some thematic reports. So, for example, we look into open government for the green transition. So it can also be focused on that. Yeah, of course. Great.
Sorry for the slight issues with the PowerPoint, but I'll run you through a little bit what Adonis has just presented quickly. So on this, just so that you understand a bit that there's the Open Government Partnership and there's the OECD. We support countries in the MENA region to join the OGP. So we've worked with Morocco, with Tunisia, with Jordan, and we're hoping to be able to do this with Lebanon. But our approach to open government covers a lot of different topics. I don't want to go into them today to just confuse things because it might be a lot of information, but just so that you have this approach on open government in your minds. So Adonis has gone through all of the different work that we do. If you're interested in learning about citizen participation very deeply, specifically, we have been analyzing how OECD countries conduct citizen participation processes for the past 15 years. There's thousands of pages looking at these topics. If you're more interested in how to strengthen transparency, again, there's a whole area of work on this. So this is just to show you kind of the different pillars. You were at this, you hadn't reached this part yet, but I'll jump in just to say that the added value of the OECD as opposed to different multilateral organizations like the UN, like the World Bank, etc. We do not have offices based in Lebanon. We have headquarters in Paris, and the way that we work is through a committee level organization. So on any topic that you can imagine, on fisheries, on gender, you have a committee with the people in charge of this topic from all 38 member countries. So the evidence base that we provide is what works from that standpoint. And we have something, what you see here, the Working Party on Open Government. So it's the equivalent of Hind and the minister in our 38 member countries. You have a range of most inspirational advanced practices like, Nordic countries and their open government agendas, to other countries in the MENA region that are kind of trying to work in progress on this. With a specific focus on Lebanon now. So the idea is really that we have done assessments in the past. So the idea is not to do another additional report. We have a very good basis on what the government has done in this space. And Julien will explain a little bit also what they have done from the civil society side of things, also with some really good actions to date. This has been done, and what I wanted to kind of mention here is that we see open government as a transformative tool, a lever that can help with these overlapping reform agendas to help push things forward. So if anyone is interested, we can walk you through the details of what we had recommended in the 2020 scan, from legal frameworks, from the need to develop an open government strategy, from the need to strengthen stakeholder participation, ensure that there's a law that actually requires this to be done. And finally, I think one of the main elements here that will really help is meeting the eligibility criteria to join the Open Government Partnership. And we'll have our colleague, طريق Nashnash, who will mention it a little bit more. And we're really happy to, on this side, have country experience from France. So as you see, we're welcoming Tiffany Scognamiglio, who is joining us from the government of France and who is the focal point of the OGP in that country. And she will be able to tell you a little bit more later on why that's been useful from a government perspective and a co-creation perspective with civil society.
That's it from those slides.
That's it on these slides. So quickly, before we move on to the next points, is it a good time to go through kind of the eligibility, where Lebanon stands currently on the OGP criteria, or what? Okay. So before I give the floor to طارق, who can explain this a little bit more, let me from kind of my side give you why is it that we're still pushing very much for this openness agenda in Lebanon. We know there are several reform tracks. There's a lot of effort being done on fiscal transparency. There's a lot of effort being done on anti-corruption and integrity. The reason why we feel like helping Lebanon join the OGP is kind of about 4 or 5 main elements. The first one is that this is an amazing signal to the international community. It really gives, in terms of the international reputation of Lebanon, that it's joining this partnership. It gives the signal that the government and CSOs are really serious about public governance reforms. So that's kind of symbolically, that's the first push. Second, and an important one in the context of Lebanon after all these crises that we have seen, is that it helps attract development cooperation funding. Civic space is shrinking everywhere, and support and funding for civil society actors is more and more complex. And I can assure you that in all of the other countries we work on, the open government area of work is one that is very attractive for donors. It's something they can measure, they can understand their own countries. So sometimes the countries that are actually funding this work are themselves part of the OGP. Like this morning, as part of the broader collaboration between the OECD and Lebanon, we were with the Spanish embassy. And Spain was actually the chair of the Open Government Partnership this year, and they did the annual summit in Vitoria in Spain. So this is another reason why we really feel like, because we would like to help the CSO sector in Lebanon working on governance specifically, we feel like this is a very important entryway for it. The third point is the citizen trust angle, the point that my colleague Adonis has made. I don't need, you know better than me, the abysmal gap that there is between citizens and public institutions in Lebanon. We have done like very, very detailed studies about the drivers of trust. At the OECD, we've worked on what is it that makes citizens trust their government. And across age, socioeconomic status, gender, the number one determinant of trust is people feeling like they have a say, what my colleague was explaining. And open government is exactly about that. It's replacing citizens at the heart of how policies and decisions are being made, and making people feel, enabling them to actually influence how decisions are made. We need to obviously adjust this to the Lebanese context, whereby even if they're involved in the policy-making process, it doesn't mean that the law will pass, and it doesn't mean that it will be implemented. But it's still that even in this process, citizens, they're not stupid. They know that things won't happen overnight, but they are still very much asking for this engagement. The studies have also shown that they're not apathetic. They don't not want to engage in public life. They're actually very, for them, it's a core function of their work. Or maybe put a more interesting slide rather than the thank you one that we can still focus on. I'll leave you with this one. That's one I like, and we can focus on a little bit more. The two last points, networking and peer learning. The Open Government Working Party at the OECD and the OGP specifically are an amazing avenue that help you exchange with reformers. You would be able, if we move this forward a little bit more, to know what your peers in other countries have done to move certain agendas forward, not reinventing the wheel every time, learning from peer exchange, etc. So that is a really important one. And finally, and one of the ones I really find, as we've seen these past few years, the decline of the development aid sector, multilateralism, all of these very depressing things to think of. One of the core things that I feel still gives me energy in terms of why are we doing this work at the end of the day? Why are we spending thousands on big high-level conferences and the ministerial? The open government agenda helps you achieve impact and maintains momentum by encouraging leaders to make public commitments visible. So every couple of months, years, we do this whole purpose of making a big fuss and a big meeting and getting the senior level people to come in to commit. We're pushing them through the open government agenda to say, what is it in your action plan for this year and next that you commit to doing? And the fact that the CSOs are a part of the Committee of Open Government, this is what then helps say, you in January 22nd committed that by this time you would be doing this. And you have not, the accountability angle there is really important. So the last point I wanted to make is that you can see the OGP and the Open Government agenda broadly as an arena where you can encourage public officials and political actors to make commitments increasingly that you can then monitor. And I know you've done this amazing work in this space. The last point I want to make, I do not want to go into the details of the points and like why the OGP methodology chooses these points. I'll leave any difficult questions for Tariq to answer, not me. But and I don't know if we could have put these up, but is this connected to the internet? Can we just go on if you can Google Open Government Partnership, and it shows you the criteria. And I think we can remove this. We can remove the slide from here. There are kind of 4 different categories that countries need to reach a minimum set of points to be able to have the minimum eligibility to join. It's access to information, fiscal transparency, asset disclosure, and citizen engagement. At this stage, Lebanon, and طارق will confirm, is missing only 2 points. We did a massive gain a couple of years ago with the access to information law. This has given Lebanon 4 points. Now we're only missing 2, and these can be achieved by 2 things: either by making asset disclosures public, and we can discuss which one is easiest, if it's this one or the second, or ensuring that the audit reports are made available by a specific time frame as covered by the International Budget Partnership methodology. And I think we'll have a bit more interventions on that to know exactly. So 2 points only are missing for Lebanon to be able to reach the minimum eligibility criteria, either on public asset disclosures being made available publicly or on the audit report being published on time. And the idea is that so my wish here is to try to understand what we can do to move closer to these elements and what we can do in parallel, not just wait for this to happen, but yeah, thank you. Exactly, it's that. So if you go on the OGP page, if you can scroll down a little bit, it gives you really detail about what the core eligibility criteria is, the 75%, etc. But I mean, we can go through them if there are any questions specifically. But this is really explained in a lot of detail on the website for the OGP. Stop here.
Thank you so much, Karine and Adonis, for very insightful presentation. I will switch again to Arabic. So يعني مثل ما شفنا لهلا.
So as we saw, I know maybe that there is some information that is very interesting that is being presented, specifically in terms of an opportunity that we see as additional opportunity that we can benefit from. I would like to move, and through this time, I would like us to start to think, all of us together. We're going to move to Mr. Tariq Nashnash. He is online, and he is the coordinator of the Middle East and North Africa with the OGP, and he will tell us more and show us live examples from different countries, from the region and other areas. What is the concept of OGP? If we can see it maybe at the visual ID, to see maybe how we're going to see the added value through some of the examples that Tariq has prepared. I would like here to ask through this time to ask after Tariq, because we've been talking since like 20 minutes, but we will have enough time to talk together and to introduce, of course, yourself and who you represent, and to raise and present briefly one initiative or one activity or one program. I know you have a lot of projects that you have done in the past, or you are doing or planning on doing, that will be in harmony with the spirit of the OGP open government policy and partnership. I know that most of you have done this within your initiative, OGP initiatives, open government partnership, but maybe you didn't think of it under this title. And after that, after we get to know each other more and talk with each other, we will move to an open discussion and how can we put the things in their framework and how could the future steps be. And we'll benefit from the experience. Here I am biased, I'm sorry, who is France, experience of France with the OGP and the consultation in the framework it was placed. And I had an opportunity to see it yesterday, and it was a very nice example, specifically that it was, it started from the yellow gilet jaune. You remember all the demonstrations that took place in France. It's a little bit similar with the 17th of November and the popular claims that existed in France. They were able to assimilate it better than we were. I will not take too long. We will move to Tariq. Aslama. Tariq, ya marhaba. The floor is yours. You will be speaking in Arabic as we agreed. an Arabic that we can try to be similar to our Arabic. Can you hear me? Thank you, Julien and Transparency International. Thank you, the panel. Thank you, Karine, and OECD for welcoming us. And I'm very happy to be working with this Lebanese civil society. So as Karine has said, the OGP, Open Government Participation, is an international participation and partnership that combines a large number of countries, and there is work at the level of the municipalities with more than 150 in local government and thousands of the dynamic actors from the civil society of different priorities and obligations. Lebanon today is the closest to the OGP in the Arab world. There are countries, Jordan and Tunisia, and based on the existing evaluation, as Karine have said, as how Lebanon has started in this international, and this is a real opportunity to achieve this. Most importantly for the OGP is the space to divide obligations, to achieve priorities and raise the level of partnership and transparency. And today, there's more than 15 years and more than 5,000 engagement. And this represents a treasure of information, and we can benefit from it. When we speak about openness and open government, we do not speak of the open government, but we mean all the establishments of the public sector with the respect of the specificity of each state and the priorities of each government. We speak of the municipalities, open municipalities, an open parliament, and open justice, and open establishments. And this is why we need to enlarge the concept to the state and all the establishment of the state in this. And the methodology of the government, open government, are methodologies that call for reform with the respect of the level of each state based on its history and civilization. Until today, the OGP is not checking, but puts a methodology, a specific methodology to have the participation of the civil society in the heart of the evaluation and execution of public policies. And these are methodology that are based on 4 steps. First of them is the common building, where the civil society is called to contribute in putting and suggesting certain obligations for the government. And such obligations should be precise in terms of activity and level of aspiration, ambition. And this is an operation which result would be to put a plan of work that will draw an official map that will reach this partnership of open government. After that, we will start with the execution of the partnership. And what we mean in the execution with the OGP is calling the government to put a framework, a formal official framework to track this execution through putting a committee, a leadership committee, in which there would be equal participation between the public sector and the civil society, which should track the execution of implementation of these obligations. And after that, there is a mechanism and a private entity which will be evaluating this operation to see how we can participate and how we can do the level of this and how these obligations are actually being executed. And this should be in a periodical way for the society to be able to bring up the level of the aspirations and ambitions. And to be able to divide and spread some experiences. I will tell you, for example, the experience that took place in Nigeria, and they took back the employees. And here, the solution that was developed with the local society and that are simplifying this, and the proposals of the citizens in various phases of the budget. And this has led to the result that the government brought together the needs and to do what happened with the government. Another example where the problematics is the incapacity of the citizens to do that. And the first proposal was for the local government and the civil society to develop an office for this data in order to provide a digital platform to evaluate the accomplishment of the work in terms of the city and the quarter. And this has led to the usage of the data to guide the policies and decision-making, as well as saved taxpayers' money through reducing the cost of the publication of all this data and analysis through the participation of the civil society. Another example from Morocco, where these concepts were taken from the central to the local level, and there is a local government, which is the municipalities, open municipalities, which has more than 300 municipalities that are putting programs and local engagements to encourage transparency and the participation of local municipality. And there is more than 1,000 projects now at the level of the municipality. At the level of the participation of the youth, Jordan, where there is an engagement to reinforce the role of the youth in putting the strategies related to the youth. And there is an engagement in Tunisia to help them as well to share at the level of the municipality. Another example from Morocco in putting the policies. And here, rapidly, some laboratories of innovative laboratories were established to support the participation of the citizens in creating ideas, and as well putting people with disabilities, like in Tunisia, where they facilitated access of information for the support and the infrastructure for people with disabilities. Or from Morocco, where there was an apparatus done to evaluate the services provided to these people with disability. Or Tunisia, where there is an engagement for lifting up the digital comprehensiveness for people with disabilities. Another area as well, which is very spread, is the issue of the digital transformation and artificial intelligence, where there is problematics about the safety and comprehensiveness and infrastructure. And I will here share with you 3 examples from Nigeria, where there was an engagement to find the digital governance based on inclusiveness and participation and ethics, and Malawi, where there was an engagement to reduce the digital gaps through enabling the citizens with digital skills and develop campaigns. And from Kenya, where the government engaged in developing the policy for safe usage and responsible usage of artificial intelligence. Fast, rapidly, OGP is the space that respects the specificities, local specificities, and responds to the needs of the local societies. That's why we find that the engagements and projects are different from countries to another, depending on the priorities and specificities. And there are general spaces, of course, like access of information, fighting corruption, and protection of the civil space, as well as topics of digital governance and inclusiveness, and the issue of access to justice, freedom of press, and participation of the citizens. All ideas that we find inside the space of the OGP, which includes, as we have said, more than 5,000, but the respect of specificity is still the utmost importance. And I would like to conclude with what our friend Karim said, that this participation in the open government partnership is a mechanism that was done and has been used since 15 years, and it's an important tool to speed up national reform and allows to learn, and is a space that will ensure the search for financial and technical support. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tariq, for this information, which is very important, specifically on the different experiences. Thank you very much, Tariq, for this. And as we have communicated over the phone, we had agreed to have hopefully future sessions where we will be into more details, because colleagues with the OECD have a lot of experiences and lessons. And of course, we have experiences that we can document with the OGP, even though, unfortunately, till now, Lebanon has not joined this initiative. Before moving, as we have asked, as we have agreed, to start to think and brainstorm, each one of us, as you see, how we saw it with the OGP. I will have 2 minutes to talk about with the OGP where we have reached in Lebanon, not only at the level of the grades, but the initiative of the civil society. There is a national commission pertaining to the OGP that was nominated. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Merci. And I will speak very rapidly about it, how the nomination was done and all these topics. About 3 years ago, at this time, maybe the colleague Ahmad Karut is from the National Democratic Institute, and they are implementing this project, and they have added to the efforts that were there from all civil society and pertaining to the Transparency International and all the branches that are in the area. Currently and worldwide, we are in more than 100 countries. But in the region, we are in Morocco, and Tariq was a former member of this organization, in Tunisia, in Palestine, in Gaza, in Lebanon, of course, in Jordan, in Kuwait, and Bahrain. Several countries, and maybe Lebanon is one of them. Transparency International, of course, is very attached to this topic in view of the nature of its work, the issue of the open government, which is a main strategy, whether at the level of the fighting corruption, digitalization. It's a very important topic. So whenever there was consultations to form a government, we tried to impact the ministerial communique and declaration and try to send some of the claims to the ministerial committee that was writing this declaration to have the clause of the entrance of Lebanon to the OGP. And the nomination took place, and I would like to welcome the colleagues from these associations who are in this committee. At that time, I believe about 21 or 22, correct for me, please. 23. Hello, everyone. Muhammad Karut. It wasn't a nomination. It was mainly a registration and evaluation, because they filed. We followed the way we did present the candidacy, yes. And associations did express their interest in presenting the candidacy, and among 30, 20 were interested to present their candidacy, and it was evaluated. And there was a scoreboard about it. So it wasn't actually a nomination. There is a process, open process. But we had more than 34 persons who were interested in following the news of OGP together. And among those who presented their candidacy, 4 members presented. Thank you. Thank you. And hopefully it will be renewed with the National Action Plan, and maybe they worked on the draft at the level of this committee. But what happened in the country later on, in this topic or other topic, there was no more space to work on these topics. And that's why it's an opportunity and this environment which is feasible to many things, specifically to the topic of the OGP and the strategies that are being placed in general. This is why we consider as Transparency International Lebanon that this is another opportunity. It may need some time and discussion together. I don't want to say this is initial and preliminary session. Other sessions took place, but what we wanted to do is today is to come back and speak more together. In the remaining part of the time, we still have a good time to discuss, to brainstorm together on the roadmap, specifically at the level of advocacy, the audit report that Karine mentioned. We will have our colleague Imad from the International Budget Partnership to speak about our work together on the issue of the transparency of the budget, in addition to all the input from you on what you are working on, whether locally or at the level of the studies and different sectors, news, policies. At the academic level, the media, people with disabilities. There is a big mixture of experience today here around this table and outside the table. That's why among the program that we did put for today, I would like to do like a round table to present ourselves, the name of the establishment. And before what my friend Tariq said, one activity or strategy that you can select and that you feel is part of the OGP and that you were doing or that you like to do. And after that, we will open the floor for the discussion on what the future steps could be in this framework. Who would like to start? By raising hands, please. Mrs. Hanan.
Bonjour.
Good morning. Hanan Haber from the network of local network for governance. We've worked with BINA. It was a sub-grant for BINA project, and we worked with them on the open municipality. And we were able to achieve it with the municipality of Ras El Matan locality. And through this project, of course, we worked with the local society and community. We had a committee, a citizen charter. We worked with them on the digitalization. It's digitalized. They have a website. There is a dashboard. The municipality, of course, with whom we worked on an action, which is considered a priority for the municipality. We did put them, and it's there, and it's being worked on. The municipality is putting its budget with it, everything that happened online. And there is now a complaint system, a feedback system, in order for the citizen, in case he has any question, it may reach the municipality. And of course, the municipality would be answering within a certain deadline. Of course, we wouldn't have succeeded if we didn't have participation of all the CFOs in the area. And we fortunately were able to succeed and leave an impact, and hopefully we will be able to circulate it to other municipalities soon in Lebanon. Sorry, I cannot hear what's being said. Maybe they're speaking out of the mic or... Skandar. I'm representing Financially Wise Association, which cares of financial and private and general. But lately, there was concentration on awareness, on raising awareness on public finance. One of the experiences we have faced that could be considered under the OGP or open governance is as well under the BINA project, which is an experience with the municipalities on the participatory budget. And the experience was interesting because it highlighted some of the challenges that are at the local and municipal level. And we thought maybe there will be more receptiveness for this participation and the budget. Specifically, the municipalities are representing more the society and reflecting the society, but it appealed to us that there was a larger problem in terms of the culture and the relation with the authorities, because we were surprised to find out that many who joined the new municipalities have difficulties in accepting the idea of surrendering or leaving some part of decision making. And the other challenge was their understanding of the developmental matter. Many of the people who joined the municipalities, there is a major lack in the concepts and their capacity to learn developmental work, where it starts, where it ends, sources of finance, and all this. A cultural matter, yes. And this is in summary. Sorry, to Diana. I cannot hear. Sorry, Diana. I am with the Lebanese Initiative for Oil and Gas, and I'm very happy that there is, again, this concern about completing the OGP, which is very essential, I consider. It's very important. Now, let me leave it as a surprise. I don't know what Julien is not speaking in the mic, so I'm unable to hear what he's saying. It's very nice that there is this commitment, and I believe that most importantly in this phase, as a result, these are all engagements for the reform. This engagement is political after all. Such an engagement with OGP is a political commitment. We all need to think together how we can transform it to a permanent engagement that's not affected by the financing, which, as we saw, was interrupted because we have main donors and financiers who decided suddenly to withdraw. And I'm talking here about the joint pain with my colleague Ahmed. This is first. Now for the things that we believe we need to focus on, and we will learn from several countries that have applied the OGP specifically for the National Action Plan. I believe it will be beneficial for us, what you already have said, the engagement to fight the corruption through the disclosure of the beneficiaries. Beneficial ownership should be part of the National Action Plan, and the opportunity that the state had this commitment with the help of the OECD and should be applied to move from ink on the paper to action points through implementation through the ministries who I believe would be engaged. Another thing, as organizations working on accountability and transparency in the matter of in the field of energy, to do what Jordan did when they joined the OGP. They used the first action plan and put that the state should abide and engage to this initiative on this initiative of which I am a member. And this is an initiative which is parallel to the OGP and which relies on this participation of the civil society to control and hold accountable and help in putting the agenda for the transparency in these central sectors. And I believe here we need to think from this, and it will be very good. And we look forward a lot to reconducting these meetings. As you said, Julien, we started as chosen representatives, and hopefully we will be at the level of this responsibility to be able to put a plan, a roadmap, to start talking with the larger civil society to be participatory and be more inclusive on the points that should be existent and push them forward as an agenda specific to us. And I would like to thank you. I would like to conclude on the issue of the municipalities. It's of utmost importance. The more we advance, we see that these local governance are very important, and that it's very important, since we have the IBP, to confirm that we have a budget or budgets, participatory budgets, that can reflect the need of the communities that should be there. Thank you. Thank you, Diana. But you haven't mentioned that you are a member with the ITI. I am a member of the board of directors of ITI. We are the first Arab country that is present with the EITI board, and this is our 7th and last year, but Lebanon was a pioneer in this board. Thank you. Hello, I am Hussein Sharif, journalist and researcher from the Maharat establishment, which per the criteria you have mentioned, we worked a lot on the work with the municipalities, where the budgets and accounts at the local level. We've worked a lot with the journalists on the matter of activating the right of access to information. We know the law was issued in 2017 and was modified again in 2021, but up to a certain level, there are problems in the implementation of this law. We're talking at the level of the journalist. A lot of public administration exploit the issue of extension of 15 days to answer, or they don't have this information. The obligatory publication is not applied. Most establishments say that they do not have a website, they don't have a Facebook, or maybe they do have a Facebook to publish any information pertaining to the issue of the resources and access to public institutions and communicate. We suffer a lot. So therefore, we feel that in the matter of the open governance and open government, we still need a lot of work, specifically on the matter of transparency. Thank God this is giving us work, yes. And as a big indication, the issue of this 3RF from the reform from 2020, since the explosion of the port, we suffered a lot of committees and administrations did not meet or interact in terms of the dealing or providing an equal system to the right of access of information, not only for journalists, but to the citizens, to ensure the accountability, which is the basis of the work of the journalists. Thank you. Thank you, Hussein. Hello, I am Rania from the Masar Association. We work youth policies and building transparent governance systems. The meeting since yesterday, the high level, and today are very important meetings, a lot of nice ideas. And I feel that today, the establishments that are today are very strong. The associations are very strong. Hopefully, we will be able to do a change. Yesterday, the speeches for the 4 ministries who spoke were great and very comprehensive and had an academic dimension. This is very, very nice, but the experience would be, and the lesson is in the execution. I would like to speak of key highlights. When we speak of youth policies, it's multi-sectorial. Youth are not a sector. They have interest in all fields, agriculture, health, education. And what is nice is that OMSAR is multi-sectorial. Its work is with all ministries. It's not an independent sector. That's why I believe it's very important for a coordination to take place between OMSAR and the youth policies, because in youth policies, we work for decision makers making a commitment, public commitment, which is very important with the open government. The youth policies is a reform document from a youth perspective, which interacts with everything pertaining to governance. Accountability is very important. The government ratified in 2012 this youth policy document. It hasn't been implemented. In 2020, the roadmap for work hasn't been implemented. And today, the youth Ministry of Youth started a youth strategy. Accountability is why the former policies were not applied, even though there was a lot of financing. Donors should be questioning this, since they are international, and the donors of the donors. The government should be holding such establishments accountable. These are taxpayer money. Another thing, since yesterday and today, it's very clear how important is the role of the social society and civic society, whether in governance or the OGP. Unfortunately, today, and this is a call to improve, not only for criticism, the current strategy, youth strategy, is excluding the civil society. It's very important to include the youth in the universities. We cannot exclude the civil society that has experience, that's organized, that has experiences, and it should have, we should give him a role, a main role. I feel that it's very important for the future. that the OGP to know how much the budget of each ministry for youth. I'm talking as someone working with the youth. It will be good to have a revolving fund for the youth in the Ministry of Finance under the supervision of the Council of Ministers to know what is the budget allocated by each ministry for the youth. This is very important. You mentioned the financing and income paper. Unfortunately, yes, it's over there, but there should be a political will, not on from the up of the state, not only at the level of the ministers who had excellent speeches. Thank you. Thank you, Rania. We're going to move to Mrs. Tiffany Scondaglia. She's the head of the Center for Citizen Participation and the Interministerial Unit for Public Transformation in France, and we are honored of your presence, and you will share.
I think with an emphasis on public consultation, right? So
thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
شكرا لكم.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy that I can hear all of the good, great stuff you're doing. So thank you very much. Very briefly, I will share. Maybe some of you were in the room yesterday, but just I'm leading the interministerial unit for citizen participation, and our mission is how do we make citizen participation a daily reflex to design public policies, which means how do we make a permanent seat for citizens into the public policy design and the political decision. And so that's the mission of the unit. But what I will discuss more today is that I'm also the point of contact for OGP, and maybe I can share how do we work with the civil society, because administration, they are not that used to work with civil society, actually. And OGP, it's a very good framework to break this silo. It's, you know, like it's not administration and civil society, but try to find a common place to discuss. So we are the fourth action plan in France about OGP. And in this plan, we have 17 engagements, and the engagements that were designed both by administration and civil society. And what I can see is that the level of ambition raised because of the push of the civil society. And we are used to work with the minister in charge of the citizen participation. We have a roadmap, but the civil society bring maybe new ways or new, I don't know, level of ambition, and it fits very well. And now this OGP plan starts to become the roadmap of the ministry. So I think it was very a good exercise to do. And we built this plan by organizing meetings, and civil society was bringing some suggestion, administration, they were bringing suggestion, and at the end we had this engagement. It worked, but I think we can do better, and it's what we are trying to do now for the next weeks. Actually, it's a very news from now, because we would like to set up a forum. It's a multi-stakeholder forum where the civil society and the administration, they gather and they work like a one full day together to design and to identify what action would be the most relevant to have a renewal democracy public policy. So I'm very excited that we are experiencing this. So maybe if I come back later, I will tell you how it went. But I think it would be a good way also to change the posture of everyone, because administration, they need to change their posture, because it means that they have to listen and to integrate new actions in their action plan. And also from the civil society, I don't want to be like a pushy, but civil society, we were used also to receive like a kind of strong advocacy. And it's also a change of posture, because working together means that we are not anymore in a strength, I don't know, rapport de force. It's a, how do you say this in English? It's a, we are used to, yeah. Yeah, and it's about shifting to have a more compromise posture, which means efforts from all sides. So I'm very excited that we are trying to make this forum multi-stakeholder, because it's an opportunity to co-create a public policy, a new public policy, because citizen participation so far is not that clear. It's not a public policy. The objectives are not clear enough. So we still need to work a lot, and I'm very excited to see how we can work together and to break this silo. I will just end up every 1 minute to give you concrete examples. For instance, we work on 2 engagements. One is creating a status for citizen participation, which means when you receive a call because you've been selected by random selection, because it's the way we organize the citizen participation most of the time, we use sortition. When you receive the call to be part of it, you have to deal with your employer because you need to ask for 3 days to come to participate. Sometimes you have to pay like the train, the hostel, and some costs are related to this moment of participation. So the idea of creating a status is to protect the citizens and make everyone, or to give to everyone the opportunity to actually participate. If you have, it's not a question of if you have enough funds to come until the place, or if you can deal with your employer to be free. It's the idea is to create this status for everyone. That's one of the objectives that came from the civil society, actually. They push for that, and we are now seeing how we can integrate it into the law. And the second engagement is how do we train and we transmit to the young students, like from 6 years old to 18 years old, how do we give them the tools to train themselves to democracy, citizen participation, but also in the classes to experiment the way of deliberation, which means how do we train ourselves of empathy, listen for the others, find nuances, try to find a compromise altogether. And these are the keys of the politics of tomorrow, I hope so. So it's how do we build tools adapted for children, of course, but how do we create tools to experience this deliberation way that I believe it's at the core of the open government philosophy as well. So this is 2 kinds of engagement I think governments will never do if we were thinking alone about it. So it's one of the magic that happened working with the civil society. So I wish you great collaboration as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Tiffany, for sharing with us, if I may call it, the French experience and allocating time. I know that your flight is in few, so thank you for that. And hopefully we'll stay in touch to see how can we benefit more from this experience. There are some similarities, obviously, but the context is, I think there can be some lessons learned also from the French experience. So thank you for that. كنت طلبت مني بعدين الأستاذ حاتم.
يسعد وقتكم. Thank you على
Many thanks for this interesting roundtable and gathering. We all are benefiting from each other. I'm Rawan Yaghi, founder of Youth Peace Association. We are in Baalbek, where the context is a little bit different, a little bit, much more than a little bit, it seems. And when I'm in such gatherings, I always like to remind that when I tell you that you can work with municipality and can reach a result, maybe in a place. In 2014, we had someone who was in the municipality of Baalbek, who was the Secretary General, who was killed because he refused to clear the money that was there, because it was going to Syria. We are unable to do the same thing that other areas are doing in Lebanon. And this makes us go to what? What we are doing now in Baalbek is to prepare the platform. And we found it in the politics. We worked on preparing and training. And this was with Transparency International and others on accountability and the right to reach information and the public procurement. And we did partnership with these associations. And this has impacted the youth in their choices. We knocked a lot of doors in critical thinking, but what we are doing is more related to the open government. I want to see from what you were mentioning in the relation of the citizen and the state institutions in the region. We went somewhere else. We didn't go to the municipalities, for example. We went to the build of trust between the citizen and the establishment of the state, and specifically to our area. There is no projects that we work without bringing the relation of taking youth. We take the youth to visit military stations in Beirut, in Araman, in Hamad, for them to create this relation. We organize camps for the youth with them. They celebrated Independence Day with the Lebanese army. They spent 2 days training with them, and there was a relation being built, specifically in the framework of discussion of lack of trust and mistrust with the Lebanese army in Baalbek. So we were working on reinforcing this relation and this type of trust that we could be impacting positively more in other areas. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Mr. Hatem. We have 3 and 4 establishments that are online with us. And for those who'd like, of course, the floor is yours to know that you want to say something. Thank you, first of all. We thank you for receiving us, and we hope that these efforts will be fruitful. I am Hatem. I represent the Lebanese Association for Taxpayers. We are among the civil societies that reinforces transparency amidst the repetitive financial crisis, and our activity is to enable taxpayers and control public financial policies. I wrote them. Most of all is breaking any ambiguity and unclearness, simplifying the budget and explain complicated numbers that will allow non-specialized people to understand where taxpayers' money are going. Warning from the gaps that open the door for corruption and increases the burdens on the middle-sized society. And this would, of course, add others. For example, the price of oil. And if they had added more on cigarette, it would have been other. I don't know on which they added yesterday. Now, currently, we are emphasizing with our association, and it helps the program of the Open Government Partnership, which is the right of access of information, which is a cornerstone for any governance. Digitalization of transactions and formalities. And this is what's happening currently at the Ministry of Finance, defending the taxpayers' as well interests, organizing workshops, raising awareness workshops. And I enjoyed the discussion that happened in the issue of the municipalities. All municipality councils in Lebanon do not have or do not conduct the training for anything related to development, finance, and administration. These council of municipalities are coming from different backgrounds, but these backgrounds are not maybe administrative or people who have the necessary culture or education, and this is impacting the administration. That's why it's important for me, in cooperation with civil societies, an association who look into the issue of the municipalities and work on the Council of Municipalities and do TOTs for them to help the local administration in governance. This is in terms of the cultural seminars. And we have issued the chart of the taxpayers' rights. We work on it. And we work with international organizations to reinforce criteria of international transparency, work on this. And we're very active in the topic of governance and hopefully with you, with the OECD and Transparency International, we will be able to reach a place. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to apologize because Tiffany and I have to leave to the airport. Adonis will stay with you because he's staying till tomorrow. Our plane is till today and they're telling us the roads are closed. So the financing of the Italians for this project does not go on changing the tickets. Thank you for your time. And hopefully through this project, we'll be able to do the step forward that can help us reach the eligibility and OGP.
I'll switch to English بس لأقدر توصل الفكرة شوي أوضح يعني you can count on the OECD to express the concerns you're mentioning to the donor community, so that the understanding is also from what are the needs of the civil society actors that are doing this work. Please feel free to also reach out to Adonis or I with more of the work that you're doing and the efforts and the planning that you have for this year, so we can try to see also how we can support through not only this project but some other ones. شكرا لوقتكم. عن جد عفوا لانه كان مستحيل يصير بحالي انه بنص most useful conversation. Well, thank you again for Julia and the team for this. Leave you with this. The hard questions. Yes.
مرحبا، يعطيكم العافية أول شيء، وميرسي لهيدي الجامعة المفيدة and multi-experience, multi-levels of work. أنا اسمي باتشي
I am Vache Chederian from the Lebanese Center for Studies. I'm coming today to represent the organization. I'm a researcher in the economic field in the center.
In
a nutshell, I can say and describe the work of the center
to disseminate information to the general audience in an easy, attractive, social, and a timely manner. These 4 keywords for me, in my conviction, is a key pillar in the idea of information in terms of the OGP framework. So, as our colleague Karim was mentioning, in terms of trust being a key core in the OGP framework, and in terms of people feeling that they have a say as a main driver of trust. One thing comes to mind, actually, inspiration from the OECD scan of Lebanon. The government of Jersey, مش New Jersey, Jersey off the coast of France, actually. There was a movement or an idea called activism, which is a combination of the word application, which is mobile app, and the word activism. So what they did was they conducted online consultations between something like a chatbot and citizens in different subjects, in different fields. And what they found was, very interestingly, there was a high level of engagement, because the thing about Lebanon here is that we have very high transaction costs in our economy due to the asymmetry of information. So this solves a key issue in terms of the asymmetry and lowers transaction costs for people to have a say in the politics of reform in Lebanon. This is one idea. In terms of المركز عنا LCPS, we have something called the legislation tracker. It is basically a tracker which it's a tool, it's a visualization tool accessible to everyone. And any citizen can enter and visualize in a certain period of time the number of legislations that were passed for a single or multiple governments, subsampled into different subcategories, and can public lands, education, citizenship, naturalization, what have you. So I think this is one of our key focal points or entry points in terms of disseminating information towards the audience. And something that we as the center can also work on is something called the legislation implementation tracker, which on a subset of legislations, we can, through also consultations, we can disseminate reports on the extent to which these legislations are being implemented. And I'm not here, hallmark or centerpiece legislations that are of interest حاليا. Finally, I just I want to echo the thoughts of my colleagues بخصوص البلديات and municipalities. I think the idea of subsidiarity and the decentralization, although it's not the lowest hanging fruit, it definitely is a concrete entry point, and more importantly, it's a proof of concept, right, for the citizen. And it serves two main purposes for me, at least. One is building the trust, من وراء هذا the proof of concept, and the second more nominal goal, which is closing the gap between the current score and the score for eligibility. One final thought. The idea of, I think it's a duty for all of us to take the concept of gender, youth, technology also, and conflict resolution as not separate categories, but cross-cutting themes according to the areas of expertise of each organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The conflict resolution drew my attention. The conflict of interest resolution drew my attention. It's not usually raised. Bravo. Thank you. Ali Sweden from Legal Agenda. We are an organization that was established and aimed at filling in the gaps between the legal studies and legal work and other studies. And for these studies, that our work took longer with time. We work strategic cooperation, criminal justice, right of access of information. Without mentioning all the activities, it should be a summary. Specifically, our meeting today, I believe that our work in the legal agenda, the legal parliament track established in 2019, which consists of a tool that tracks daily the parliamentary work and activities, starting from when it's at the government to reach the parliament, to the commissions, to the general body, and to later on as well, after the ratification of the laws, through the comment on this project, and through tracking and all the committees that work to track these laws. And if someone wants to see, and they can see. And we have a WhatsApp group where we comment daily on the projects, in addition to other matters.
شكرا علي وكمان يعطيكم ألف عافية. تفضل.
Here you go. Good morning to you all. I am Karim Brahim from the local governance at the St. Joseph University. So you have some strings to pull there, yes, double. Since there are some from the university, it seems here. I am an attorney as well. Be careful. So 3 elements there. So in the framework of the track, we worked on the full evaluation. Sorry, I don't know whether since the establishment of this monitor center, till November 2025, and we issued a policy paper. And here I will benefit from this occasion to say, and we benefited from the establishment and reconstituting this initiative, and we look forward more to working on this, specifically that we are part of an academic institution, a university. So at the end of the game, the OECD and the Ministry, of course, and the Minister did inform us, and academics that are working on the issue of recommendations to give recommendation to the state in terms of matters. Of course, it's very important for us to cooperate with your establishment and OECD. And of course, I would like to confirm that in the past, we did a lot of conferences and studies about topics that interest good governance and fighting corruption. Most importantly, the demarcation lines of the borders, fighting the corruptions inside the state institutions, digital development. And of course, you are aware of what we are doing and the work we are doing. This is what I would like to say, and I would like to thank you today for this initiative. I am a student of the university as well, so I would like to thank you for this. I am from Amsar. I am Micheline Mubarak. I'm a gender focal point. I've been with Amsar since 23 years. But before, in the open governance, I was a project officer, which is a project funded by the EU and managed by us, about the civil society. And I would like to say there are several blocks when you come to Amsar. And we did ask from Starco management to put facilities for people with disabilities, and this initiative was very positive. And there is a ramp now. This is among the framework of the pressures that we do. Thank you, bravo. So even if it's an initiative at the level of a building, but still you make a difference. Someone can start at the level of things that they can impact themselves. Anyone has raised hands? If you allow me, Zahra. Hello, Zahra Bazzi from the Arab Network. As an Arabic network, we concentrate a lot more on reinforcing the role of the civil society and giving it the instruments of work and therefore policies, mainly social policies, through the development of the knowledge in this matter. I believe this reinforces the idea of open government, because civil society, if you want to participate and be part of this endeavor and work, needs to do these roles and research and knowledge in political matters that they are going to participate in. We need, if they want to participate in such activities, we need to be able to contribute in this. And this is the main role for the network. And I wanted as well to highlight the fact that as civil society, we need to be working on ourselves to do this. And with the, of course, the freedom to ask for this access of information, we need to work on our establishments and capacities. I cannot hear what Julien is saying.
Hi, Julien.
Hi, Julien. I am Aysam Khalaf. I represent an association to reinforce citizenship. We work from Tripoli. And last year, we took a sub-grant from the BINA project, like many of those present today. I wanted to participate and share our experience from what happened last year. Phase one, that was a raising of awareness phase. And what I want to say mainly, the work was good. We were targeting legal experts and media and students of information. And the work was easy with them. And what happened, what I noticed when we had people with different backgrounds, they were not really concerned. And we tried to show from the trainer who was with us that the right of access of information will lead us to places that will really be important for us in different type of services. So I hope that we have reached with these people, the people who are not interested with people who are interested. And I want to say again, this phase was easy. The other phase that has an advocacy phase, we worked with several municipalities in terms of the union of the municipalities of Tripoli. The challenge was much bigger when we're trying to take appointments with state officers or municipality officers to explain about the project and our work. I would allow to say that there was maybe ignorance and they were not really interested. And there was not really the responsiveness that we expected. So hopefully in the future, there will be direct work with members of the state municipality. And there will be certain advocacy and raising awareness. And what Hanan said, I saw her in the event on the 25th of November in Mozambique, about 2 months ago, where we discussed, she was talking about the municipality of Ras Al Matin. And I heard someone he speak about Balba. And I told Hanan, in my opinion, a municipality like Tripoli is harder because it's bigger. The more it's big, in budget and size, I believe, I am sure that the work will be more difficult. In Ras Al Matin, it was easier because the region is smaller. So the challenge is when the municipality is big. I would like to conclude that maybe we still have a lot of work to do, but maybe this is very good as activists, but not good for the state because the track is very, very slow. Thank you, Haysam. I have someone online who wants to speak. It's more of a question. It's a personal. As attorneys, and all the citizens in the state are suffering from something very important, which is settling the fees. And the citizen is standing more than 2-3 hours in lines, huge lines in front of the funds and the ministries and the Ministry of Justice. My question is for the non-governmental establishment who are with us. We saw that in Nigeria and Kenya, where it's true, if we see the map, are countries that are growing. How can they resolve their problems and we are unable to even open a platform? So how can we say we cannot pay online? Will that be effective? This is the question. Will it be effective? From what we hear, the system is not working and there's no fuel and we don't work on Saturdays and everything like this. This is a very important question. I think what you are raising is very practical. It's from the day to day. 1 hour to pay a fee of 5 million. We will have later on sessions about thematic experiences that may be related to this.
وعلى أمل ينتقل لمؤسسة الضمان الاجتماعي كمان.
لا بس قبل ما
A
ننتقل
question, please.
فيني بس أقول له شيء للمسيو.
Can I say something?
بالنسبة للبرزنتيشن
For the presentation,
لاحظت شيء إنه ما
I noticed that they didn't work
دولة كدولة
on a state as a state. We are talking about the national, the OGP. They worked on the issue of the municipalities.
كله كان الميزانية التشاركية citizen participation بس ما نعرض شيء
But
خاص
we didn't know about something related to the state.
فينا نرجع نحكي.
ايه اعطيه هلا رح بدي اخذ عماد قبل وبنرجع ضروري نحكي عن هيدي النقطة لأنه كمان بتأثر عمليا على الأرض. أستاذ عماد عامل إيه؟ أنت معانا؟ عماد عم تسمعني؟
مرحبا.
يا أهلا.
Hello.
أنا سامعني؟
Yes, I can hear you well.
عماد بس هيك قبل
Imad, before you start,
عنك
Imad Imam is a colleague and a friend from International Budget Partnership. He's the coordinator of the North Africa and the Middle East, and he will do presenting a little bit about International Budget Partnership in April 1st, not the lie, where there is a launch of the Open Budget Survey. We need to work on this campaign. Lebanon is one of the countries where they measure the extent of the transparency of the budget, and it impacts the OGP and our cross-sectorial work.
وهلا the floor is yours. مش رح طول أكثر. تفضل عماد.
مرحبا جوليان.
Hello, Julien. Thank you
شكرا على الدعوة
for this invitation. And I would like to thank the Ministry of State for Administrative Development, Julien, and all the colleagues with Transparency International Lebanon. And I'm very happy to see a series and a group of civil society activists concerned with the participatory approach and the budget, because they are among the main things that our organization or association work on. I was asked to finish in 5 minutes because I know time is short. I hope the language will be clear. My colleague had a very clear, I believe, earlier in Arabic. Regarding the organization of participation in budgets, which, as the title says, are concerned about the budget, which is a form of the social contract, which is done yearly between the citizen and the state. And this is very important for it to be in a clear field, an official field in the participation of the citizens. And the budget is not a group of numbers, but is as well expressing the priorities of spending and the issue of the rights and social security and social rights and individual rights. I hope the screen is clear, and therefore it's very important to put our interest in the budget, which is something very important to make the trust in the citizen and the government. Yes. Are you exchanging the slide? Because no, I'm still there. Okay. So let me today, because I was asked to participate in some of the figures in the situation in the Arab region, North Africa and the Middle East, and Lebanon. As organization in Lebanon that is known internationally, that conducts a survey of the open budget, and as Julien has said, in the April live for 1 day, we will be launching the new version of this survey, and we will have different results. And the survey, of course, as well, included 25 states, and that does its work with the civil society. This survey notices 3 main things in the budget. First of all, the private sector pertaining to transparency, to what extent these statements are put for the citizens, and to what extent the aid budget document are available in a specific time for the citizens. They are available, but they should be available in the decided time. And the other part is the participation, and it's a very important point for Lebanon because there's a lot of improvement that should be done in terms of participation, and which is the idea to how much there is an extent to have the participation of the citizens in the budget. And the other part is the oversight and the control, which is connected to the control from the legal part and the supreme audit institutions. This is the situation in the Middle East, which is the yellow part, and the last survey, the Middle East is the smallest area in the region in terms of transparency of the budget in general, which puts a lot of questions and tracks a lot of opportunities to improve these figures. Let's go into the figures in the Arab world, or specifically in Lebanon. Lebanon, in terms of the participation, the score of it is 17. In terms of transparency, it's 17. In public participation, it's 0, which is something very bad and requires a lot of work and discussion, because I heard colleagues in the civil conference who are talking about the municipalities and the local governments, that there is a big part for the participation of women, the placement of the youth from the budget, and the presence of such pressure from the civil society can put lots of pressures to improve the idea of participation. Lebanon, in terms of legal control, is 25, and the control entities is 28. The green numbers are and show there is an improvement, but in the future session there will be an improvement in the participation and transparency and control. But the participation is the one that requires a lot of work. And you can see one of the things that are here online on the site of the participation of the international budget. And I'm happy to say that we are working on this, but unfortunately no similar spaces were registered at the level of different level of the work of the budget, what the formulation or the planning of the budget or the approval through the parliament or the execution or the phase of the control through the control entities. And this is something for today there is a big place for improvement. Like, we don't have time, but for the transparency you will find this is present in general and in front of the documents of the budget. To much extent the Lebanese state is participating and sharing these documents, and it shows that in Lebanon some documents have not been published yet and some have, but not in time, in the due time. What is in yellow is something that was published but not in due time, and in red the ones that were not published. And I would like to tell you that there is improvement in the issue of the participation in the open budget survey. And there are certain recommendations and oversight. And this is the last thing that I will say, because I have exceeded my time, that the role of the civil society. In the organization, we work in 8 countries in the Arab world: Morocco, Tunisia, and Libya, and Egypt, and Jordan, and Lebanon. I can say that there are lots of spaces for the civil society participation, and from our experiences, and I'm very happy with the participation with Transparency International, that we start drafting more work in the role of the civil society.
أي مدى هناك مشاركة على الصعيد المحلي أو على
To what
مستوى
extent there
المجال
is
المحلي
participation
أو
in the
أكاديميات.
civil
يمكن
society at the
هناك
civil level and the
تجارب جديدة مع
municipality, and
بعض
there may
الدول
be
العربية
very good
مثل المغرب
experiences, as
والأردن
Tariq mentioned, in
حتى مصر
Morocco and Jordan and even in
يشترك
Egypt,
المجتمع المدني ويتفاعل
where the
بشكل مباشر مع
civil
البلديات
society
في صياغة
participates
الميزانية
and
المتاحة
interacts with the
وكيف
municipalities in
إنتاج
drafting
الميزانية على
the
المستوى
budget
المحلي
available and how it
باعتبار
takes
احتياجات
into
المواطنين على
consideration the
مستوى
needs
كمان على
of the
المستوى
citizen.
الخدماتي وهو الصحة
And at the level of
والتعليم.
the services,
أعتقد
which
إن
is
الحديث
health and
حول
education, I believe
الجودة
that
الخاصة
discussion
بالخدمة
towards the
وما يتم
quality
اعتماده من ميزانية
and
هو
what is
موضوع
being
مهم
adopted
جدا
as a
في
budget is a
المصالح
very
المعنية
important
بالصحة
matter
ومعنية
in
بالتعليم
entities
معنية
pertaining to the
بالمجالات
education and
المختلفة.
health and
وأعتقد
other
هناك خبرات
fields.
كثيرة نجدها اليوم في المنطقة العربية خاصة بالعمل
And
على
I believe there are lots of
الصحة،
experiences
خاصة
in the
على
Arab
التعليم،
region and
خاصة
Arab
بالعمل
world.
كمان زي ما أشرت في الأول على موقع الشباب في الميزانية العامة، خاصة بالعمل بفكرة
And
الجندر
specifically in
responsible
working
budgeting.
with
هناك
gender
الكثير من
responsibility, there's a
الجهود
lot
التي يقوم بها المجتمع
of
المدني
efforts
في
that
هذا
could
المجال.
be done
والجانب
by the
الأخير
civil
أو على المستوى
society.
الوطني، لأن
And the last point,
أعتقد في دولنا هناك تحدي
because I
كبير
believe
خاص
in our
بالمجتمع المدني
countries
ومساحات المشاركة،
and the civil
وكثيرا ما
society,
يكون هناك صعوبة في المشاركة على المستوى الوطني. لذلك نرى أن المشاركة على المستوى المحلي أو
we
على
believe
مستوى
that the participation at the
الخدمات
local
ممكن
level
تكون
and services
ولكن
could
على
have
المستوى
other
الوطني
spaces.
هناك انفتاح كثير في
But there
بعض
is
الدول
openness in
وهناك
some of
زي
the
ما بنقول في
countries.
لبنان الآن
And how we
مثلا في
see in
مرحلة
Lebanon,
الريكفري. فأنا
we
شايف
are
إن
in the
في
recovery
استعداد
phase,
كبير
and
من
I
النشاط
feel
خاصة
that there is a big
بتحسين
readiness to
المساءلة،
discuss
تحسين
and improve the
الشفافية، تحسين
accountability and
المشاركة،
transparency
وبالتالي هناك
and
دور للمجتمع
participation
المدني في هذا
and the
المجال.
role for the
أتمنى
civil
أن في
society.
هذه
And I hope
الجلسة والجلسات
that this
الجلسة
session and the
للآن
future
تكون هي
session and the
بداية
ones from yesterday would
لتمعين
be
لدور
the beginning
أوضح
to
وأقوى
activate
للمجتمع
a
المدني في
clearer
بداية هذه
role
المرحلة
for the civil
الدقيقة والمهمة،
society
اللي أنا
in
شايف أن
Lebanon.
هناك فرص كبيرة جدا في التقدم سواء في السكورز أو ما يعني السكور يعني إن في مجتمع مدني فاعل،
Whether
المواطنين
there is an
لديهم
effective civil
رؤية واضحة
society
ويقدروا
with
إن
a
هم
vision,
يحددوا ما هي
and they
أولويات
can
الإنفاق
determine
على
what are the
الأرقام في المستوى
priorities of the
المحلي على مستوى
spending
الخدمات. وهو ده
at
في
the
النهاية
local
اللي احنا
level,
عايزينه،
at
يعني
the
هو ده في النهاية
service
اللي
level,
شايفين إن ديمقراطية
and they can
الميزانية
see
democratization of budget جعل
that
الميزانية هي النور
democratization of
وليست أرقام
the
صعبة
budget
معقدة، ولكن
is
الشيء مفهوم
important
للمواطنين،
for the figures
وبالتالي
to be
هيكون المواطنين من
understandable by the
حقهم
citizens
في
who
صياغة
have the right
الميزانية.
and the capacity
أشكركم، وأنا ممكن
to
أشارك
draft the budget.
الميزانية، أشارك البرزنتيشن مع الزملاء لمزيد من الاطلاع، أو يعطيكم العافية. وأكيد هنكون موجودين في بداية نيسان
We will be with you
لتقديم
at the beginning of April
النسخة الجديدة
to
من
provide a new
المسكة
version
بتاعتكم. شكرا جوليان.
of our
شكرا
research.
لك عماد، ويعطيك الف عافيه لك كمان. مثل ما تفضلت
Many
وقلت، انا
thanks.
رح
As I have
اوعد
said, I
الزملاء
will
الحاضرين
promise
معنا اليوم
colleagues who are with
بجلسه
me today
ثانيه
with a second
نيسان
session
نفوت
at
اكثر
the beginning of
بموضوع
April
الموازنه
to
المفتوحه كمان
discuss more the open
الاوبن
budget,
بادجت، موضوع كثير اساسي
which
للبنان.
is a very important
وكمان
and
رح يكون
basic
اذا الله راد
matter for Lebanon.
طريق هلا ظاهر
And
عنا على
Tariq,
الشاشه كمان
I see him on the screen.
جلسه اخرى
There
اونلاين
will
كمان
be
رح
another
نعقدها.
online
في
session.
سؤال طريق، ما انه
Tariq,
معنا
since you are with us,
السيدة حنان
from
يتعلق
Mrs. Hanan
بمثال، ما بعرف إذا
regarding a
ضروري يكون
sample.
ناجح، بس إنه
I don't know
مثال
if it's
ممكن هيك
successful, if
أكثر
that's to be
مركزي.
successful,
يعني
that is
نحن
more
بالأمثلة
central
اللي أعطيتها
in
بناء
the
على
examples
طلبنا،
that you gave
نحن
according to
أكثر
our
محليا
request. We
قطاعيا
are more
بنشوفها،
local and
ولكن
sectorial.
عمليا
But
على صعيد
practically,
مركزي.
at the
ممكن
central
كمان
level,
تقول لنا
maybe you
كيف
can
بيتم
tell us
تشكيل الأو جي
how
بي، يعني
is the
الممثلين عن
OGP
الدولة، الممثلين عن
constituted by
المجتمع المدني،
representatives of
كيف
the
بتصير
state? How is
الأمور
it done?
ولو بوقت قصير شوي،
Even in a
لأنه
short
كمان
way,
على الوقت.
because we are short in time.
شكرا على السؤال.
Thank you for the question.
يعني هو الOGP هو في
The OGP is at the beginning.
نأخذ مثال للدول العربية تونس والأردن.
Let's take the example of the Arab countries, Tunis, Morocco, and all these. They are all leadership commissions from the social society in cooperation with the public institutions that are interested, which are handling this.
وتنفيذ الخطة العمل والالتزامات المتعلقة بها. أمثلة من الالتزامات.
Examples of engagements pertaining.
مثلا في المغرب اليوم هناك التزام.
For Morocco today, there is an engagement pertaining to ratifying an access of information and the participation of the civil society in putting a plan, national plan pertaining to climate change, in putting a law pertaining to general consultation. In Jordan, there is an engagement We lost him, I think.
طارق صرت ميوت لأسباب مجهولة. تفضل.
censorship I guess.
ايه لا مش هون لهلا بعد ما وصلنا الليلة بلبنان ما بعرف.
سمعتوا بعد الأمثلة ولا فين وصلنا يعني؟
بقى يعني آخر 3-4 ثواني ما خسرنا كتير دغري.
أوكي يعني آخر مثال
على الأردن كنت بالأردن.
تونس أعطيت مثال شفافية.
Tunis, yeah, I gave an example of the transparency of the financing of the civil society in Jordan, several engagements in the transparency of the strategies pertaining to tracking the respect of human rights. At the end, there are engagements of public institutions and ministry where the civil society is accompanying, putting them and tracking their execution. All these engagements, more than 5,000, are mentioned on the legal website, on the national website.
شكرا طريق. صحيح. رح يمكن جاوب أنا بشكل مختصر.
I will answer in a summary. The state, centrally.
كنا proactive.
We were proactive.
عملنا national committee لأنه الدولة ما كانت كتير بوقتها تصغي.
Because the state was not really listening. But at the time of the Saad al-Hariri government, it declared its intention. But the work on the ground was to reach the criteria of eligibility. Two frameworks. One about the publication of assets, declaration of assets. It was modified and included it, but members of the fighting corruption members or to a certain category. And the audit report as well. Before reaching the audit, we don't have the financial statement. And if they introduced resources to the Lebanese state,
نحن بدنا قطع حساب لنقدر نفوت OGP بس تقدر تعمل قطع بدك المالية تبعت الداتا.
We are waiting for it.
نعمل القطع بعد الداتا هيدي منا جاهزة. لا يمكن
the data is still not ready because of certain challenges even there before, as certain issues are being faced. So one of these things that Lebanon was able to do, it can declare this, he can correspond with the OGP and says, I am ready, I am compliant. What I want to do is I want to select representatives of the government, could be 3 or 4, led by OMSAR or another ministry, and invite the civil societies to do the same. We have prepared the ground for it, to sit together. And that's very important to all of us. They're not coming later on to say what's your opinion from the beginning. Let's see what's our action plan. We are, of course, contributing in governance, but we're not the owners of the governance. We impact, we influence, but the final decision is always for the state. We want to try to impact. And hopefully we will have a positive pressure in this. And there are engagements to control this.
دكتور كان أنا بعتذر كنت طالب الكلام بس لأنه إجا السؤال تفضل.
ميرسي لكم أول شيء كنا نشكركم على دعوتكم.
We want to thank you for inviting us. I represent Sages University, specifically Faculty of Political Science and International Relations. We have a program at the university relating to fighting corruption. We teach all students fighting corruption in cooperation with the UNDP. There are attempts to do some type of partnerships with a lot of associations that can contribute in this. We have one remark that can be given to this whole track. Of course, civil society in Lebanon has been with a certain dynamism, and that's pushing at least the idea of reform in this country and moving from a country that's not very well done to one that's more done. But there are two things here that we need to think of. The societies and associations of the civil society. It's mentioned in one of your presentations, the neighborhoods, and they spoke about municipalities. The city, the Lebanon is left alone. Lots of areas do not have any mobilization or the idea of participation. Certain people do not have the awareness or the dynamism that sees how they can abide and engage in such a track to reach the beginning of the relation with the municipality and local authority. That's one. And the idea of Lebanon having the idea of municipalities, the percentage of the people who do not elect are more than those who do, those who vote. So if you're paying tax in a certain municipality, you have the right to hold it accountable. So this should be thought of to activate the role of the people and the categories who are on the ground in accountability and participation. These are two ideas to think of. Thank you for your presence for Sages University, of course. Academia always has a very important role in building the education sector or the participation in social activities. And your ideas are, of course, to the point, and we thank you for your intervention. Maybe we can conclude now in the next 2-3 minutes. We spoke with the issue of OGP and the opportunities that's available now. And we were saying with Karine, the objective of our meeting today was to see the interest, all of us together. It was the interest as CSOs, not the state. What we mean here,
everyone is doing a great job.
Each has his work and is doing a great job. And here we are asked, what can we do as civil society? I always answer, if it wasn't for this work, the situation now is bad, it would have been much worse. This is our volume, our role, and I think we are doing a good job. We can do more, of course, and better. But for someone who's asking us, let them try themselves to see what they can do. The OGP, we acquired a lot of information today. We can organize additional sessions, but we need to see their interest today. Of course, there are other establishments that may express their interest, and there is interest in participation in online, in advocacy. And of course, our role as TI is to be a facilitator. And this will all happen in a participatory way. And of course, it's nice that there's all experiences on the table. And this is what enriches it in order to find a common space. So how can we reach this? And maybe for those who'd like to add something. A quick note. I believe there's a citizen-centered policy. I believe the government, as a government, is asked to explain to us how it can do that, because this is a process. It's not only one ministry. And it should be a priority. And they need to tell us how they are planning to reach it. In my opinion, because in Lebanon, everything is laws and policies. It's all is nice, but we do not have execution. So let's see one pilot program to do it, all of us, and to all have certain responsibilities to help according to his experience, to feel that there's a change, and to be able to build this trust that the citizen has lost, because the citizen in Lebanon no longer believes in anything. So when we work on this and highlight it,
نقدر
I believe we can make a
إنه
difference.
بلشنا نعمل فرق، ومبروك إنه قدرنا بمؤشر الفساد نطلع نقطة واحدة حتى
And
لو
congratulations that in the corruption indicator we were able to move forward 1 point to the front, not to the back.
يمكن هيك ملاحظة من بعد
A remark,
الجلسة أو
not after this session.
احمد او او اثنين مع بعض،
الاثنين سوا، يمكن ما قادر افصل بين بعضهم، بس اكيد اهتمامي بالشأن
I'm concerned in public affairs and governance and law since before being with NDI,
ونحن شهود على ذلك.
and we are witnesses to that.
يمكن كل حدا
Everyone has expressed something today
بيركب البازل اللي احنا اصلا
to form the puzzle that we are working on, forming, especially when we started working on GP. The policy alone is not enough, theory alone is not enough,
كمان في واقعية سياسية.
but there is a political reality.
لازم ننتبه لها.
First of all, the first thing we need to watch is there is a mixture between the policies and politics, which is electoral, and popular. They both affect each other in a negative way. So this would explain a lot why the policy is becoming not a word that everybody looks for. And most importantly, we took the example yesterday and today, France, coordination between the civil participation is not an easy thing. In Lebanon, we faced it when we spoke with the deputies before the ministries. And what did we get? Why should I talk about this? What do I get? And certain people were against the major principles for transparency, against the disclosure. And I believe we should be looking for successes, small successes, to create a precedent. And it shouldn't be different from us. We have lots of examples. You've worked on this principle and it was very successful. Because one would, when you get a positive step, it will move to the other one. The idea is to look for these small successes and not to look at the huge block alone from first step. It's a cumulative work. And the last point, since we are all from civil society and pertaining to the civic society, there was always at the ministries and the administrations a claim that says the civil society and citizens do not care. The more you feel that there was not going to be a result, they will use it. Yes, that's not important for you. That's why we need to break this taboo and the cycle that they use against us, and to show them that yes, we can succeed.
ولا حدا عمل تعليق على مشروع قانون أو على تعديل قانون. مع انه هن ما كانوا كثير
even though that they were not really looking at it, so not marketing was a reason.
لانه في داتا بين ايديهم. فبرايي نحن لازم نلعب.
So in my opinion, I believe we should play the work of the data.
يعني نتاج هيك جلسة
and the result of such a session, hopefully a milestone, to have a number of small initiatives that to exert pressure on decision makers, to show that there is a social pressure that you need to answer. Thank you. You raised a very important issue and should be followed because you're talking about the strategy of the civil society. I believe that the first time we saw each other was about 4 years. So every now and then we meet and reconsider. I believe there are lots of time we need to reconsider our approaches, autocritics in a constructive way. We are not at the level of the responsibility. We are part of it, but we're not in charge of what's happening today. I would like to close this session today. First of all, everything that can be done is nice, and our presence around this table is already an indicator that people want to meet and discuss and connect the region in with information or a certain expertise. What I'd like to mention one more thing and commend what Ahmed was saying. We were talking about the visibility, this visibility in the society that Tariq always tackled as well. We have things that are being done, but what we may be against each other's. We are not working together well. When I see something that Hanan did, I will not go share what she did, and people in my area won't know about it. We do not have this model that says someone succeeded and do the same. So it's very important to build on large successes. We may not know what we're doing together, but we can reach a big campaign based on training or others to bring the people who are in the society and to have the feeling that they do own this project, and then move from this small macro to move to the micro at the level of the parliaments to show what this campaign is showing. It may be like a podcast. It's very important to do a visibility to these because people no longer have trust and confidence that there is a way to break the cycle of corruption and to be really working on governance. So it's good to give back the hope in this phase. Thank you. The narrative as well. What are we saying to our friends and colleagues and clients? Are we doing something good or not? And this is natural because there is a sense of responsibility. That there are lots of good things that are happening. In general, the general thing we are saying that the GDP is still the same. I'm trying to simplify, but let's not underestimate what's being done. Thank you very much. We close the session. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for those who were with us online and the colleagues who were online, those who have attended. Would you like to say something?
Exactly.
To build up on this, I think, very beautiful conversation.
Great. No, I just wanted to say a very brief thanks also from the side of the OECD. I definitely learned a lot. Thank you also for the interpretation, who I think I was the primary user of. No, just to say that Julian will, of course, share with all of you, the emails of Karine and myself. So if there's any further input that you'd like to provide, please feel more than free, and we'd love to get more of your views. It's also possible that maybe we will reach out to you if it's needed, and we will surely have more of these conversations soon. So yesterday it was just the launch of this project, but we thought it was very important to engage with civil society as early as possible. But it's we definitely have almost 11 months ahead of us of this project running, and then hopefully even more OECD engagement in Lebanon. So we're very much looking forward to continuing our discussions with you. Thanks.
Thank you. Great having you in Lebanon. So hope you.
My huge pleasure.
تفضلوا في هيك لقموشة صغيرة كافي بريك. تعبنا صرنا ساعتين. سو يعطيكم الف عافية. ثانك يو. في بريك صغير هون على اليمين. اهلا وسهلا.